You are watching
And then
Xirtus.
it just goes over their head because they can't process it, right? Even if they're against the thing, they just can't imagine it's happening.
Why do you think some people can and some people don't, or some people do and some people don't? It's not that people can and can't. I don't know about locking them into forever
Sure.
ways, but why is it? Is it a gut reaction? What, like physical gut health? I mean, I don't.
Maybe, but I think it has to do with idealism. If you want the world to be a certain way, then you become so optimistic, you try to ignore the problems and just focus on the solutions. I don't think it's necessarily evil. It's a big part of it is just things should be this way, and it hurts too much to acknowledge that the world's full of cruelty. And I don't, I could be completely wrong, but that's
Well,
what
I think a lot about kindness and compassion and communication. I'd like embody the virtue, be the virtue, and then I look at the same time. I'll say like political power, comes out the barrel of a gun. Emperor Chairman Mao quote. Horrible person to like. I don't want to quote people that I don't like, but physical force is why we even have the United States to begin with, and why it's so safe inside the box that we've created with military force. And kindness and compassion didn't win World War II. I mean, maybe the leaders that were involved with winning the war were compassionate people, perhaps, but the guys on the ground, they weren't there to be kind to the Germans. They weren't there, and kindness. If they'd gone there to be kind to the Germans, they would have been killed, and then the Germans would have won the war. And then established, I don't know, whatever. So, but at the same time, like Jesus was an idealist, and people look up to that guy. But is that just like a fantasy?
I mean, Jesus freaked out on people that were exploiting women and children and old poor people, and like got a whip and like yelled and like knocked tables over in the temple. Like he was screaming, like right before he got arrested and murdered, right? He went into the temple and he's like flipping things over, and he's like, this is like the house of God. And because what they were doing is they were taking like shekels that were no longer printed anymore. It was like Federal Reserve money. And if you wanted to get a priest to forgive, a rabbi to forgive you, you had to pay the church. You had to donate a certain atonement, but you had to buy the shekel from them, put it in the machine, and then they would take it out and then they'd sell it again, like an arcade. And he's like, this is ridiculous. You can't do that to these people. And, I think that's probably the thing people forget. A lot of the way they frame Jesus is that he was this pacifist who put up with the state exploiting people. And it's just not true, right? He was someone saying that the state's going to collapse on its own. You don't have to firebomb it or car bomb it. Like the state itself is already collapsing. Rome collapsed like 30, 40 years after he died, 70 AD, right? Like it was the end, it was clear. They couldn't maintain control. And he was saying that. And I think that's kind of the thing is you can turn someone into a Che Guevara t-shirt. You can get so far away from somebody's belief structure that they become an image that's controlled. That's what I think is really scary about Charlie, is that he can't continue to grow as a person and show people what he's thinking about and use his sense of logic. He can be used now. Like we were saying this earlier, right? Like you pulled up the quote that you had from,
yeah.
Hold on, I tried to open it again and I screwed it up here. There we go.
There's a Rahm Emanuel quote. He was the chief of staff of Obama.
Can you control plus that to make it bigger?
I don't know. Maybe control. Oh yeah, I can. Let me see. I can actually scroll my mouse wheel up.
Ooh,
that also works.
The gamer move.
You see it? It's this phrase, "Don't let a good tragedy go to waste," commonly attributed to Rahm Emanuel, served as chief of staff. Specifically, the quote: "You don't ever want a crisis to go to waste. It's an opportunity to do important things that you would otherwise avoid."
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about when we were getting the stream going. If just for the people that are listening, I was like, "Do we put Charlie's name in the stream?" I made a video just out of a burst of emotion about Charlie a couple days ago, and it got 23,000 already views because his name's in the title, I'm sure, and the algorithm's picking up his name right now. And then my couple videos after that, I got 1,000 each. It went from 23,000 to 1,000 because his name. If I kept putting his name in the title, I'd probably keep getting huge views right now, and I don't feel morally justified in doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because other people are totally going to do that. I mean, that's businesses are going to do that. That's what a lot of these journalists and press are doing. It's hard because so many people are doing it for either to use his name for good or evil, but I'm not sure if that's even fair to say one's good. I think it's evil to say that he was this evil man, like to say he was promoting violence or racism and all this stuff when, tons of people that I know, like we both know Olivia, she was going to do the show, but she's going to read it a couple of days now because she's a Breitbart and Turning Point's got, the vigil and everything that's happening. And so she's writing about all it's like her free time is turned into nonstop Charlie Kirk media. It's all
Rondeau.
Yeah, Rondeau.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so she's a black female conservative who got at 17 to meet Charlie Kirk and be part of Turning Point. And it's crazy how many people I hear saying that it's like this white supremacist organization, because a lot of what made, especially at that time, was people were so frustrated. Like Bernie Sanders supporters were supporting Trump because they were so frustrated with what was going on with Hillary Clinton and Biden. The whole reason that the movement around Trump happened was so many people of every color and creed and gender, everybody was so frustrated that they had no voice in the Democratic Party. So they figured, let's build something,
I've been thinking lately, the liberal economic order, they started after World War II to protect the world. And it was basically to create an order for the planet. They destroyed the German Empire. They destroyed the Japanese Empire. They set up a global economic order, and also to destroy communism and the Soviet Union. It was like a antithesis to the Soviet Union. So 40 years go by, and then the wall comes down, and there's no more Soviet Union to fight. But this machine is still in place, this war machine, and it's looking for an enemy. And people are confused. The wars in the Middle East with America, we're like, we don't have to militarily take over the world anymore. In fact, it's not working. So we should figure out a different path. But Biden was part of that. Obama had become part of that while he was in the office. Hillary was part of that. And then Trump comes along and he's not part of it. And he's like, in his own crude way, like, there's a radical left, like he's doing the divisive, but at least he knew something bizarre was going on. And that's what all these people resonated with and identified with. That had loved Bernie Sanders too, because he would talk about getting money out of politics. That was the control mechanism for the liberal economic order. Is money, is about knocking people's bank accounts down if they don't like what they said, bullshit like that. And that's what people identify with Trump. Now, what concerns me though is the divisiveness, because right after Trump got elected in 2016, he hadn't talked about left and right at all while he was running. As far as I can tell, I never saw him mention it once. And then he got into office and like a month or two went by and he went, the radical left. And I thought, oh my God, he just created a left, because people hear that and they're like, oh, there's a left. Okay, I'm on the left then. And the reactionary formation of this ideology intensified because instead of him being like, we're all connected, we're all in this together. If you just stay on that track, I mean, it might be hyperbole, but it's better. I mean, I think it's better than dividing. I want to get your opinion and take on just division in general. Like you said, good and evil, because I've been struggling with this so much. Good and evil, black and white. Like they go, the world is not so black and white, Ian. I've been told that since I was 5 years old. So I tend to believe that things are not so binary, that there isn't good and evil and left and right. And the world is not Republican and Democrat, but people that want you to destroy yourself will poison your mind with those ideas so that you other those guys over there, or even maybe you'll think maybe they're on the other team, when there's no real teams. We're all humans trying to build this with our own, and if people go psychotic, they go psychotic. That's a psychological phenomenon that we could talk about, but it doesn't place you in a camp or like on a side if your brain's breaking or if you've been manipulated or something. How have you been handling the division? Because sometimes if I say nothing, people get more. I watch people slowly fall into the left-right trap.
Yeah, it's Fox and the Hound. I've been thinking a lot about that Disney movie. I don't know why, but my power just went out. It's a good thing I'm using a cell phone for my data plan right now, so I got to still go. But yeah, I mean, I'm in Montenegro, so I'm not in the European Union. I'm not in the United States, and so I think that helps me a lot. Keep psychologically healthy because I'm not in a place where they really have super strong, one way or the other. There's certainly people here that are that know about Charlie Kirk. Actually, it's really interesting how many people I'll meet that are like, "Oh, you're from America. Have you heard about what this thing that happened?" And so people are actually learning about it and just it's interesting to think about how people are looking at America, because I think this is a bigger deal than school shootings to a lot of Europeans. Even they're so used to hearing about America having school shootings and they have their opinions on that, but that someone getting shot for talking is next level. That's where, like America, this place is supposed to be about freedom of speech. So if that disappears, then everything that you were taught as a kid about America is dead. And America's become the very thing that everyone was afraid of becoming in their own countries. And is it true? Is it really happening? It can't be true, right? Like that can't be something that's going on there, right? But it is, and people know it. And so it's scary. But for me, the division is the fox and the hound, like that Disney movie where you have this like little fox and there's this little puppy and they're friends with each other. And then they grow up and it's, I guess, like, I think that I need to rewatch it, but I think that movie's about racism, right? Like it's about like, but one's a black, maybe the fox, or is it the hound? I forget. I think one of them is supposed to be black, I think is the idea, but they didn't know it as their kids. But that's just identity politics generally. You're taught that your group is this thing that isn't the other. It's unanimity -1, like us versus them. And even if you had this confused experience where you had love in your heart, that was wrong. You just were young and you didn't know any better, because really you're a hound and your job is to hunt these foxes, because these foxes, they are destroying our way of life. And so that's basically what has happened to so many people, particularly seeing this from growing up in California. There are tons of people that are, I thought of as good people. They loved their mother, they picked up the trash, they were decent human beings, they had reasons to defend or fight for a cause, and it's just been so turned in on itself that they can be used. And maybe that's true of the right as well, I don't know, but to me, there, thank God. I was like, I don't know if I can do this like a Are You Afraid of the Dark episode right now.
It was a dark moment in our conversation.
It was really dark.
Got really dark there for a second. So I'm concerned for the people that are hounds that stand up and go, I'm not going to hunt them. They're my friends. I'm not hunting them. And then the whole hound industry comes down, like crucifies that hound for stepping up and speaking against the bloodthirsty mob. They said like Jesus, his own people killed him because they were like, he was trying to stand up to them and be like, there's a better way, guys. And they're like, or whatever. That's the story, part of the story. I am concerned that could transpire, and then people would keep their mouth shut because they don't want to offend the angry mob. The left-right thing, it's like it satisfies the logical brain. I just made a video about it about an hour ago, where there's something about, I call madness. I mean, obviously I'm not the one that, there's the term madness. People go mad, people are mad. And I think, as far as I can tell, that's when you're sad or when you're in pain and you don't know why. So pain and confusion combined is like madness, and that not knowing why. So people are like, there's gotta be a reason. It's that, it's them, it's this thing, this, let's call it rightism. Let's call it like Chairman Mao, the Communist Party, Chinese Revolution,
Little Red
called
Book,
people rightists. They were hunting down rightists. They didn't want rightists. So he mobilizes people to divide and go after others. And it's this, you might as well call it leftist. It's the same exact thing, just with a different sound.
I literally made this joke to Charlie Kirk at some point because he was talking about the left and the right. And I was like, Charlie, there are no left and right. There's just the top and the bottom. And there, the left and the right are just, like the power tool, the exploitive power tool of the top against the bottom, which is a joke because that's Marxism. But at the same time, it's pretty much what they're doing. There's this elite group at the top, and it's using left and right so that we pit each other against each other. And this was up all week before Charlie's death. We were talking about the arena in DeCarlos, like the Ukrainian girl getting stabbed. That's being these kinds of events that are taking us away from trying to liberate ourselves or question even because you can love something and be critical of it, right? Like you can love Israel and support Israel and still be really critical of the Lahakud, of Netanyahu's government. You can be like, I want Israel to be the best country it can be. I see that Israel could do work here that would make it a better country. You know, you could do the exact same thing with the United States. There are tons of people that love America and have critical issues with the way America works, the way Trump works, or the way the government handled Epstein. Whatever it is, you can love America and still be critical of it. And this makes it so much easier not to do that, because all of a sudden you're in this identity politics thing where you're fighting instead of together against the above and the outside, fighting against each other. And now it's all of a sudden it's the fault of the people right next to you, and it becomes spy versus spy, and you no longer can really do anything to make the world better because you're just trying to defend yourself and hurt other people as much as they hurt you. It's just, that's the, yeah.